So in this video, one person works on a game for around 8 hours, and when the time is up, he gives his files and everything that he made up until that point to the next person who will continue the game's development. After another 8 hours, that person will pass his project on to the next one, and so on and so forth until all 5 participants have contributed something to the final game. This is gonna be very, very interesting. Also, before we start, make sure to subscribe to Blid, Zayther, Sam Astroman and Dorbellprod. You can find their links in the description down below. They're the ones that made this entire video possible, so please do subscribe to them. Anyway, without further ado, let's start this video. So I am first in line, which means I need to keep the idea of the game pretty broad and provide a good base game that the others can improve upon. I don't want to force the others to make something they aren't good at. What I mean by that is that I don't want to force them into a niche game genre like physics-based 3D puzzle racing game or something very stupid like that. So I decided to go for the broadest, simplest game genre possible, and I have the perfect idea. It's generic platformer time, baby. Here we go. Platformers aren't very hard to make, is what I thought when I first booted up the project. Trying to make a platformer in reality went something like this. That's not supposed to happen. What even happened? As it turns out, physics are fucking annoying to deal with. Your character is either too slippery or too stiff, it's never good enough. And jumping, don't get me started on jumping. Jumping was seemingly impossible to implement. Hitting a wall stopped all of the vertical velocity, and trying to fix this only made it worse. But somehow I managed to get it to work in the end. I think adding that platform, blah blah blah, we don't care about that. Get into the fun stuff, the juicy stuff. Let's start talking art. So I'm a game developer, not an artist, as you can see by some of my previous work. This is meant to represent a foot. Honestly, I think I was pretty close. If you squint your eyes a little bit, it almost looks like a subscribe button? What? Maybe you should, I don't know, press it or something? What? Needless to say, I turned to the internet to steal to borrow some art from. I eventually found this cool little robot thingy, but as you might imagine, animating it didn't go perfectly. That animation is fast. But after a couple of Google searches, I managed to make him slow down from light speed to something more normal. The last thing I added into this game was a tile map, so the others could easily design their own levels and make their own mechanics and stuff like that. I didn't add too much of the tile map, only some basic platforms, because I felt like I had already worked a bit too much on this game. When I was done, the game looked something like this. Anyway, that was all from me. On to the next person.
After everything that Bad did, I had a movement controller and a level with a tile set, so I could easily start making mechanics. First I started by making an interactable button using a sprite that I made in ASprite, and then I imported it into Unity and added certain rigid bodies and different physics things like the spring joint, which I'd never actually used before. There were many bad attempts like this button and this one, but after playing around with a bunch of settings and also the script, I got it working good, and now it looks like this. After that, I added on a simple camera follow script. That way the levels don't have to be contained in a single screen. Then I started working on a new mechanic which changed the direction of the game, although I soon had to scrap that because it didn't work correctly, and to get it working correctly would require editing the entire player movement script. After that, I made a new tile layer which allowed me to place any object in it, and then that object would be classified as something like a spike or something, which would obviously kill the player and cause them to respawn. To make the respawning and also level loading and unloading smoother, I added a transition with black sliders that would move from the top and bottom of the screen and close in or open from the center. Now, the player was able to die, but it wasn't super satisfying because they just reappear at the same location and it would look like they teleported. So what I did is, instead of just having the transition out, I also created a particle system which would instantiate at the position of the player when they died, and then the transition would happen. After that, I also used SFXR to create a death sound, which sounded like this. After that, I actually made a different function for the button, because before it was controlling the change of direction for the game, but now that mechanic didn't exist, so I changed it to open a door, which would then lead to the next level. After that, I started working on a type of enemy, although I wouldn't exactly consider it as an enemy, but more of moving spikes, because it just did the exact same thing and there is no way to defeat it, it's just to avoid. I made it move so that it will keep on moving in a single direction until it hits a wall and then it will turn around. After that, there was another mechanic I wanted to make, and that was the energy bar. What that does is it is basically a timer of how long the player has left until they just die because they need to complete the level on time. I went into Sprite and just made a simple background and then a foreground overlay so that it looked a bit better. And the way it works is that it doesn't constantly go down, but it will actually instead go down as long as the player is moving. Meaning if the player stays still, then their energy won't go down. But if they're moving or jumping, then their energy will continue to go down until they stop moving again. I also created a special animation for their death whenever you die from energy loss, and it will say energy out and then the transition. There's also one way to combat the energy loss, which is by finding a battery in the level and then pressing the use button. The battery I also drew and animated in Sprite. Okay, now it's Door's turn.
So before we move on to Doorbell's part, I quickly want to talk about the Content Creators Community Game Jam that's coming up. It's a jam hosted by me and some friends, and it lasts from July 16th to July 20th, which means you'll have around 4 days to make your game. Anyone can join in the jam, and the link to the Discord for the jam and the itch.io page for the jam are both in the description. So please join, and let's get on with the video.
The doorbell is here. So one day I'm just minding my own business and then this duck starts harassing me on Discord. He told me that there's this collab he wanted to do, but like, oh my god, I'm too cool for that. So, of course I said yes. So, when Sam sent me the files, I downloaded them and opened the game in Unity, and oh my god, I haven't even started and I already have an error. Off to a great start. So I played the game for a little bit, and the idea is fairly straightforward. You have an energy supply that runs out as you move, and you have to open the door using a button on another part of the map. Right off the bat, the first thing I noticed was the transitions. I did not like them, so I modified the level transitions to make them more smooth. Next, I spent 69,420 hours working on the music. I used a program called Famitracker. It's easy to use, at least for me. I've been using it for 3 years. After the music, I took a break and I played some Roblox. Oh shit. After which, I fixed a bug with the energy system, because when you moved left, nothing happened to your energy supply, which was very weird. After that, I made a jump pad, which you just saw in action, and I made about 3 or 4 more levels. I don't really know. And let's just say that my level design wasn't exactly the greatest. Bruh. And after that, I was pretty much done. Sam had left an asset for me to use, but, you know, it was meant for Zayther anyway. And speaking of Zayther, I believe he comes after me in this video, so, yeah, that's it for me. Farewell.
Hello there, my name is Zayther, and I am a professional indie game developer. No, I'm not. You know how they say first impressions are everything? Yeah, let's just completely disregard that. Anyways, due to the awkward timing of when I received the project and some bumps in the road, I only had around 3 hours to work on the game. So I spent the first 20 minutes making a new level for the game, and I was ready to spend the rest of my time just making new levels, until I remembered that every person received an asset that they had to use. And so I opened up the folder containing the asset. Drumroll please. It's a gigantic beluga-sized robot. Of course, it's still not as big as your mom.
I would like to deeply apologize for my actions. For the horrible joke that I uttered, I would like to deeply apologize to all the families that were affected by my horrible, horrendous joke. a mistake. I would like to deeply... Have I said deeply yet? I don't know. I would like to
Anyways, I couldn't really think of anything else, and since the text document with instructions literally said, use it for a boss fight, I did exactly that. And so now, I shall present to you the long-awaited boss fight, which you actually only just heard about for the first time a few seconds ago. Big Robot. Original name, I know, you don't need to tell me. And as you can see here, I am an epic gamer. So we're absolutely ripping through this boss. I'm just cracked at this game, guys. He's literally one shot. I'm going in. If you enjoyed this short segment in Badduck's video, well, thank you. My name is Zayther, and I'm signing off.
So the first thing I did was playing through the whole game so I could get a better understanding of what to do. Since I'm the last one, the game I was given was pretty much complete, so I don't get that much maneuvering space. Maybe I should have gone earlier. Anyways, when playing the game, I've noticed how hard some of the jumps are. So that got me thinking about a new mechanic. Double jump. So after designing a quick jetpack and a little bit of coding, it was in the game. So all that was left to do was making some levels using this mechanic. I've also added a winning page that totally didn't take me 3 hours to make. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole game.
So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to play the game, you can actually check the link down in the description where there is a link to an itch.io page for the game. Sadly, there's no web build of the game because Blid accidentally deleted all of the project files and we only have an executable file for the game, but I think that is enough. So if you want to play the game, you can play it down in the description below. Remember to subscribe to all of the participants involved, and yeah, that was it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye bye. Hey everyone, so sorry for not uploading any videos for like 6 months. I was very demotivated to do anything, but yeah, I hope for now you just enjoyed this video. I don't know if I will upload many videos in the future. We'll just have to see about that. For now, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye bye.